high unemployment is a reality, and there's also a lot of dropout cases. So how do we then become entrepreneurial in terms of our thinking? And because I believe that the thinking of, you can't really teach somebody to be an entrepreneur, but you can teach them how to think like an entrepreneur. And that will lead them to become entrepreneurs themselves, because I think that's a personal journey. So my approach has been very practical in terms of, I don't just want people to engage in personal development, but I also want it to work for them, just like it is working for me. I also had to go through the very same steps and become entrepreneurial so that I could also be able to survive, because otherwise I'd also be, in crap, without a job, without a stat, and. But I'm saying, listen, there's another way out. And it was well timed, because now we are in a situation where employment is fast not becoming an option anymore. So now actually we need to start looking at these books and saying, hey, maybe this guy had something going on here. Maybe he was onto something. And so what I did was, more recently, was I combined the three books, your Beyond Democracy, your Thinking Ghetto, and your Thinking Ghetto Entrepreneur, into one book. So all of those are in one book now, and that is my latest work, the Reimagining Myself. And that we launched last year in June. Yeah.
In fact, there's a great story about how that book came about. Won't you tell us that story? I think it's you'd written these three books, and then this wonderful person in your life came along, and I'd love to. There was a whole sequence of events that led to that writing of Reimagining Myself. Won't you just share that with us?
So how Reimagining Myself came about was, I met a guy named Luvuyo Matasa, in brackets Mandela, because he changed his surname recently. And we started doing some workshops in different townships. And so he found me already doing workshops, and he said, no, man, listen, I love what you're doing. Let's partner. So we tried to do a couple of workshops together. So then he started reading all three books. And after reading all three books, he gave me a call and he said, hey man, listen, I think you shouldn't separate these books. I think they should be one book. And I said, I thought of the idea. I thought it was good, but I was like, kind of brushed it off. And I was like, nah, like, whatever, I'll think about it, And, but this idea just kept building in my head. So in 2018, I had just written my fourth book. It's an art book called The Path to Great Joy, which was in collaboration with a visual artist, Great Joy. And we had just finished that project. And I was sitting at home, and he told me that, and then he came back from Durban. He was in Durban. And then he came back from Durban, and he told me that, listen, I'm part of an organization now called Reimagine South Africa. And I asked him, okay, so tell me more about this Reimagine South Africa. And he says to me, listen, they have three pillars. And these three pillars speak to the three books that you've written. So one is the political settlement, which speaks to, the democratic progression. And then the second one is emotional settlement, which speaks to what they tried to achieve with the Truth and Reconciliation Committee, and they shut it as soon as they realized that it was terrible. It was a terrible idea. And then the last is about, the economic part of it, which then speaks to the entrepreneurial part of your book. So all these three books seemingly are the pillars. And I said, shucks. So
you did
what a coincidence. What a coincidence. It was that amazing. It felt like all these years I'd just been preparing for this move. And I said, okay, cool. I'll come back to you, let me think about this. And I went and like I said, I just written one book. So I was supposed to be on a break, and I just hopped on to rewriting all three books, and I wrote Reimagining Myself, obviously when in partnership with Reimagine South Africa, as an organization, or with them in mind. rather, yeah.
And
So
I,
yes, and that's
it's a
and that's
story
how
because
and
it
that's how
also,
that.
you know, I love this sort of connecting with somebody and this serendipity that happens
Serendipity,
in our lives on
yeah,
occasions,
yeah.
and that, you know, brings so many threads together, and then you sort of like, I'm completely where I'm meant to be at the right time in the zone, and this incredible sense of purpose being aligned with people and with an organization that is actually, so you can actually see the practical outflow of your book, which is also something that is so important for you.